My view on this is it wasn't a vote for Labour.
Yeah.
It was basically a vote against the Tories. My understanding is that the overall numbers of votes you'll be able to hopefully flesh this out, dropped significantly from the last two elections. And in addition to that, it highlighted, I think for everybody, it's something you and I have talked about before, that proportional representation is needed in some way, shape or form in this country, because we got the awful situation with the Reform Party, who I voted for. I'm happy to confess to that to our listeners. The Reform Party got something in the region of
4,100,000 votes.
4,100,000 votes.
And got 5 MPs.
And got 5 MPs, whereas the Lib Dems got 3.5 million votes and got 71 seats. And I hate to say this because I'm not a fan of the Green Party, but they got 2 million votes and they only got 4 seats. So you got this horrible disparity between, obviously, Reform, the Greens. A lot of people voted for them, and they've got virtually no representation in our governmental houses, basically. So I think for me, my assessment, and maybe you'll have a different opinion, is people didn't vote for Labour. They voted against the Tories. The turnout was far lower than we've seen before. Reform emerged as a serious political force, but despite the number of votes they got, which was a massive 14% of the popular vote, of the total vote, they were not represented anywhere near where they should be in terms of the number of seats. So I think it highlighted for me a number of glaring issues that we are facing as a country in terms of our democracy, I guess I'm saying. So that's kind of my very snapshot overview, but I'd be interested in yours.
So 2 things there. Did Labour win, and proportional representation?
Yeah.
So did Labour win? Well, Labour obviously won because they've got over 400 seats now and a dominant party in Parliament. You're right. People didn't vote for Labour. People voted against the Tories. Turnout at the election was 60%. I think it's one of the lowest it's ever been in a general election, because lots of people said to themselves, I'm not even going out to vote. What's the point? They're all as bad as each other. And that's a feeling I've been hearing now for decades. There's no point in voting. Who am I going to vote for? They're all the same. And to a certain extent, that's true. So in the last 3 elections, Jeremy Corbyn, when he was leader for 2 elections, his first election against May, he got 13 million votes.
Yep.
And then the second election against Boris Johnson, he got 11 million votes. And Labour, to win the general election this time, got just under 10 million, about 9.5 million votes.
Yeah.
So I can understand people being confused. How can Labour have lost the first 2 elections when they had more votes, and when they get less votes, they get a stonking majority? And that's to do with our system. No political system is perfect. Each one has pros and cons and flaws and benefits. Our system, and most political systems in the West, are designed so we don't flip-flop from one craze to another craze, because the people, the voter, are quite easily fooled sometimes, and because things become fads. Suddenly, that's the most popular thing, we're going to do that, but that fad ends in 2 years. What are we going to do now? So our system makes sure we have slow change over time, and that's the right system to have. It throws up anomalies like this sometimes. So who did win the election? Well, I think it's obvious who won the election. I think it was Reform UK. I think a brand new party who's never stood in a parliamentary election before, to win any seats is amazing. To win 5 seats, and now they've got a defector. They've got 6 seats now.
Oh, really? Who's defected?
A Northern Ireland MP has defected.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that happened either today or last night.
Wow.
Or something. So they've now got 6 MPs. Not sure if he's defected, but he said he's taking the the Reform Whip, which means he's part of it.
Yes.
So it might be an alignment as because he's one of those Northern Ireland parties.
Yeah.
But anyway, they've now got the group of 6 now.
Yeah, you are allowed to do that. I think
Yeah,
because you're voted in as an MP,
as an individual.
You're not voted in as a party,
No.
are you? So,
You voted in as an individual. You can swap parties. You can do anything you want once you're voted in for your term.
yeah,
Hence why that Labour woman, a Labour MP, who was found guilty of threatening to throw acid in someone's face, got kicked out of the Labour Party and then stayed in Parliament as an independent for the next 3 years on 92 grand a year.
yes,
But
yeah.
she then got kicked out last week.
yeah. All right. Good.
Because she didn't get voted in because she's Labour. She got voted in because of who she was,
Yes.
an individual.
Yeah.
So Reform UK won the election, obviously, and let's be honest, if you add the Reform vote with the Tory vote, Tories would have got a stonking majority across the country.
Really.
Yeah. So I think Labour got 32% of the vote. If you add Tories and Conservatives...
Yes, 34%, 33.8%.
Yeah, if you add Tories and Reform, they're in the 40s.
Tories on Reform would be 38%.
38%.
Yeah.
So they would have won. They'd have got the most seats.
Yeah.
So Reform have done what they said they were going to do. We're going to destroy the Tories. We're
Yeah.
going to give you a beating
Yeah.
until you understand what conservative values and policies are.
Yeah.
And
But I think Farage is going further than that now. I think he's not. I think he's saying the Tories are finished now and it's now Reform. That's his approach.
that has to be his approach until the next election. It has to be all out. But I've said this all through the last 6-week election. His long-term strategy will be to merge with the Tories. Once the Tories are the Tory party he wants them to be.
But he'll want to lead that party.
He'll want to, but it doesn't mean he will. He may get a senior position in the ranks. We don't know. But the Tory brand has value. So they failed over 14 years. Everyone hates them, but they still got a stonking amount of votes, even with the brand doing so poorly. It's ingrained in people. Reform is still a brand new party. There's no brand recognition really yet. It's not in people's consciousness. So I think over the next 5 years, his plan will be, if the Tories' new leader is a soft Liberal Democrat, socialist Tory, he's going to keep pumping away and he's going to destroy them bit by bit. If they vote for someone like a Suella Braverman, someone who's a proper Tory, I can see at the next election a pact being made that we're not going to stand in these seats, you don't stand in those seats. Both parties then will know that they can double the amount of seats they win. Both will be happy with that. And then I think he'll be looking at a merger if the Tories are who he wants them to be.
I mean, I think you say they got a stonking majority. They only got 2.5 million more votes than he did. So he got 4 million, nearly 4.1 million. They got 6.8 million.
I'm looking at the seats.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But I think those numbers. He's now got 5 seats. I think now he can take the argument to the country. Reform is going to replace the Tories, what we regard as true. Because I don't think he's going to be happy to compromise with wet Tories, basically.
Oh, he won't.
But I think there's a lot of Tories now who are true Tories, if you like, not wet Tories, who believe in the same principles he does. I think he just needs to make Reform attractive to them in the right way, and I think they'll start moving across. And the fact that somebody's moved today, it starts to give me that sign. Yeah. So I actually think this might be the end of the Tory party, because I think they're still a mess even now.
I don't think it's the end of the Tories by any means whatsoever. They're oldest political party in the world. They've got reputation, they've got infrastructure, they've got brand recognition, they've got donors. Did you enjoy that video? I think you did. Come on now, hit that bell, subscribe, comment. Let's build this channel. I need more followers, I need more subscribers. Be part of the journey. See you soon.